let's take a look at some of the common and popular tools used for penetration testing. Kali, which was called backtrack before, Wireshark, which is a sniffer. DSniff is also a sniffer. Who is Visual Trace Root, Nmap, Nessus, AnyExpo, which uses the Metasploit network, Netcat, Wireshark, Tiger Tools, GFI, LandGuard, Microsoft Baseline Analyzer, Firewalk for penetrating the firewalls, Router Audit Tools, Nipper is again an audit tool for routers and firewalls, LOPST, Crack, John the Ripper, Kane enabled. There are hundreds of other tools also available for conducting the vulnerability assessment and penetration test. However, these are some of the popular tools which you can try out, which you can learn, and these are all very effective tools. We come to the end of this session. So we have learned about network security. We have seen the differences between vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, phases of penetration testing, what tools are used for penetration testing, legal and ethical issues, differences between a black box, gray box, then some of the popular tools that are used for penetration testing. With this, we'll go on to audits of different kinds. We come to data center audits. Now, it's a very deep field. You generally do the audit by using the methodology of interview, observation, review of documentation, do risk assessment. There are several areas that you will have to conduct when you are doing an audit of a data center. Right from physical, environmental, power and backup, access control, closed circuit televisions, CCTV, network, DCP/DRP, compliance, monitoring, how the organization or the data center responds to incidents, service level agreements with different vendors, fire and water, then fences and walls, the locks, the power off switches, beta sites, backup system, UPSs, then forms, training and awareness programs, warning signs, reference checks, segregation and separation of duties, surprise instructions, authorization schemes, employee identification badges, cipher locks, guards or guard dogs, network firewalls, compartmentation of security or the organization itself, different areas, fire retardant materials and safe, antiviral software, cryptography key management. So some of the areas have been highlighted here. Basically, when you do a audit of data center, you do a walkthrough of the place first, of the infrastructure first. So you try to assess the physical security by saying whether the guards who are manning the building are entering the details properly, whether any unauthorized entry can happen, whether proper identification, visitor identification badges are being issued, how long is the pass valid for the person, whether your mobile phones, your camera, laptops are allowed inside the data center. Then you walk around the premises to see entry points, potential entry points, whether it is guarded, whether CCTV facility is there to monitor the perimeter of the data center, where the data center is situated, whether anybody can just jump over and get inside the premises. So in physical access As a first level, you will see the perimeter security, the guards manning it. Then you go inside. You see whether there is a reception, whether the visitors are controlled, whether access control, physical access control mechanisms are in place to restrict the entry of only authorized people, whether an employee is escorting the visitor to his or her cabin or to the conference room, whether proper proximity card sensors or biometric is installed. So in physical access, you cover up all of these aspects. So when you visit a data center, the points can be added or subtracted depending upon the infrastructure under which the data center is situated. Similarly, you see environmental controls, whether FM200 fire extinguisher in place, whether there are proper exit signs for immediate evacuation of personnel, whether smoke detectors are present, whether the fire extinguishers themselves have validity period written on them and whether it is tested properly. Then whether water detectors are installed below the data center flooring. Then anti-static tiles have been put in the data center. Then you have temperature and humidity control, whether precision air conditioners are put, how it is operated, what is the maintenance schedule for that, whether a backup for that is available. So these will come under your environmental control. Also, whether proper warning signs are put. For example, no eatables allowed inside the data center. Then emergency contact numbers. People who are trained in the use of fire extinguisher or evacuation, whether that is displayed properly, whether proper security guidelines have been posted, whether the exit signs have been clearly marked. Then you go on to the logical security, how users within the infrastructure are accessing the systems, what is the security level there. Then you see the password complexity, password length, password history. So you go into logical access controls. Then you also see whether proper provision is made for the UPS, whether a backup generator is also available in case of prolonged power sources. Then you see the communication lines, alternate and diverse routing, whether it is available. Similarly for the power. Then you see after the communication line, where it terminates, whether load balancers are there, whether it is terminating into the firewall, whether proper control is there, so you do a firewall audit there. From there to the servers, who gets access to what, whether free access is given to the server from the internal network or is it regulated through the use of our username and password. In many places you see that RDP is used wherever Windows are used. The credentials are stored in the desktop. So the user just has to give the IP address and then directly it logs in. That's a bad practice. So you'll have to see what kind of controls are implemented within the infrastructure. Segregation and separation of duties is another important aspect. Your system administrator and auditor cannot be the same person, as an example. So then whether all employees are wearing their identification badges, whether you can distinguish between an insider and an outsider, how many firewalls are there, what is the backup for the firewall, how the configuration changes are made, who authorizes the configuration changes, then reviewing the rules of the firewall itself, whether it is done properly. Then compartmentation is whether it's a big hall where all the departments are mixed up or there is a compartmentalization of departments where IT has access, it is on a different VLAN connected only to the data center. The HR and admin which sits there, they don't have access to what IT has. existence of antivirus software, and if cryptography is used, how the key management happens. So data center audit itself is whatever we have learned right from domain one. All of those put together will be a data center audit, a full-fledged data center audit, including the scope can include a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing of the technical infrastructure also. Some of the data center audits will extensively depend upon usage of checklists because there are so many items to be seen. There are checklists available in the internet, but then you will have to take it, customize it to the Indian environment, number one, and also customize it to the organization that you are doing the audit on. There may be several aspects which may not be possible to implement. It may be a shared resource where the infrastructure is not owned by the organization itself, so your checklist will change. Also, checklist will give you an idea, or it will remind you that you have revisited this point, or you visited this point, or visited this aspect. So it is a very important document for you to carry when you are going for a data center audit. Again, the checklist will be a summary of whatever you have found. You will find, or you will read the security policy, see whether points covered under physical access are being followed. You will see the procedure for that and check for its relevancy and currency, whether it is current or if anything has been changed. In CCTVs, you will say, yeah, it's been recording, but who verifies it? There is nobody to monitor it. That is an issue. Then again, when you talk about log management, whether a proper SIM tool is being used, whether that analysis is done, whether there is a security operations center itself to monitor the security issues within the organization, whether a web application firewall has been installed to protect the website. If yes, is the organization monitoring the attempted intrusions? So there are several aspects that you will do to determine the security or to audit a data center by usage of checklists, use innovative measures, use social engineering techniques to see whether you can penetrate into the first level, second level, third level. So there are different ways or different methods you have to follow to do a data center audit. You also have to check on the importance of information security awareness within the organization. So you will see whether employees working there have been trained adequately. Do they understand the implication of a breach and what measures they have to take as users to protect the organization's infrastructure from such intrusions? How frequently is the training given? Whether is it a part of only the new employee orientation or is it conducted on a regular basis? Then whether background verification or reference checks are done for any employee who has been appointed within the organization. So that should be an elaborate, proper process. Authorization schemes, whether it is followed. No, we need to access the server using this and this method. Or it can be a username, it can be a password plus token, a password plus two-factor authentication, some other two-factor authentication methods. So you need to understand how the organization works, what are the security measures they have implemented, and then conduct the audit based on that. For example, when you do an audit of a bank's data center, it will be much different than if you do an audit of the data center of an airport. Now, the criticality of information, the aspects of confidentiality, integrity, availability, it differs for different organizations doing different businesses. For a bank, confidentiality of information is very important. integrity is also important, availability is also important. For, say, a pharmaceutical company, confidentiality is important. Integrity is also of very high importance. Integrity a little more because the composition of drugs that are made. So similarly, for different organizations, you will have different levels of security which are required. Some aspect may be more crucial than the other. So you need to understand how the organization works, what are the CIA requirements, and then do the audit for this. Sometimes I have seen in data centers itself, there is a poster or there is a big framed certificate stating that they are 27001 compliant, PCI DSS compliant, or 9001 2008 compliant. But when you actually go and see the documentation, you may find that yes, they do have documentation for the purpose of satisfying a standard or a requirement, but then it is not comprehensive. The standard says you have to implement 1.1 to 10, but then your security requirements may say that you need points 11 to 25 also. So you may find point 1 to 10, but then the 11 to 25 should also be covered. It should not give the auditor a false sense of hope that everything in its place because the organization is 27001 certified or 9001 certified or any other standard certified. So a comprehensive audit needs to be done. You have to assume that the organization has everything and yet nothing. So you should have an attitude which says that yes, I need to find out all these aspects within the infrastructure so that the recommendations can be correct. And as an auditor or as an assessor, you are working for improving the security of the organization. It's not for a personal benefit. So you need to be more diligent. You need to practice due care. You need to bring out the facts as you see them. The reporting also plays a major part. You can write that XYZ is not there or XYZ aspect can be improved. So again, it depends on how you want to convey your thoughts to the management. To improve the information security process, you should make the employees within the organization understand that you are doing it for improving the overall security and it is not a fault finding exercise. Many of the audits fail because the employees internally within the organization do not cooperate as much to the auditors and generally are the people who direct the auditors to write in a particular way. If you don't write the audit report in this particular way, next time you are not going to get any work. That could be, this is an actual practical situation which I have encountered so many times. But then, like we discussed earlier, audit in an Indian scenario is done only with the intention of complying with some guideline or the other and not for actual improvisation or improvement of security. The top management fails to understand that, the senior management fails to understand that, the people who maintain the network, they fail to understand that because they fear that if there is a vulnerability which is reported, then the management may take strict actions including termination of a job. So it becomes difficult for the auditors when they do big audits because the objectivity should not be lost. The auditor should try and tell the employees, make them understand that it is done for the benefit of the organization and not for an individual or personal benefit. So your data center audit, again, it revolves around usage of checklists. You can make your own checklist or there are several checklists available, but be sure to modify them as per the requirement of the organization, the environment under which it is operating, and the compliance requirements that may be applicable to the organization. These points effectively will guide you or will help you understand what a data center audit is. It covers right from your physical to your incident management.